And now, please join Sofia Alexandersson, CEO and Artistic Director at ShareMusic Performing Arts, moderating the panel, The Variation. We also welcome Petra Larsson, a musician and member of the electro duo Parasonic, and Petra Assio, the president of the student union at the Royal College of Music in Stockholm. Petra finishes her studies to become a music teacher this summer, profiling in music and media production. And ShareMusic Performing Arts is operating since 2003 by a non-profit organization, offering workshops, lectures, and you have projects, of course, not only in Sweden, but internationally. And your work is right-based and follows the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And it's also clearly tied to global development and the inclusion and sustainable development. So let me just ask you, we usually use words that some might think fancy. We talk about inclusion, diversity, equality, but what does these concepts really mean to ShareMusic, and how do you use them in your work?
Well, I will actually answer that right now, but first I would like the audience to see a short clip from one of our performances.
Great.
خلينا ناخذ فكرة كتير صغيرة على اللي عم يصير قدام هالبواب الزجاجية. في شغلات ما حدا بيعرف فيها منو. Det var en gång i en värld mycket nära över hela riket vilade en förbannelse. Men han hade inget val. Hör ni det? Ingen har ett val. Du gör entré. Ta sats. Ta steget.
Thank you. 155 composers from 34 countries worldwide applied to do a new opera with us and Göteborgs Opera. We finally choose the Danish composer Line Kjørnøy to do this opera. So ShareMusic is an arts organization, and we are really passionate about people, their potential, and the role of performing arts for changing. And we have a really strong vision. We really believe that every person should be able to express themselves artistically, regardless of abilities. And we want them to do that in a world where difference is really seen as valuable. And we do it in the way that we are really interested in new artistic expressions. That is the driving force for all of us, for me as an artistic director for ShareMusic. And we do that together with artists who we allow to share the stage together with people. And inclusion and participation, that is really our foundation. That is what we believe in, and that what we believe that the power of music is really powerful to achieve. So, well, we have done several productions. Shanghai was the last big one we did, the Göteborgs Opera. One of the very first ones we did here in Stockholm, at the Stockholm Central Station, together with Christian Lindberg and Stockholm Wind Players many years ago. And after that we did Hyatt Express. We were touring with Riksteatern and with Chromata in Sweden and in several international countries. And we are often working with technology as the main tool. And we did, for example, Mångeväxter in Göteborg together with Gagego and with the composer Petra Assio. We're often commissioning work because we think that is the way forward. And what our performances and our productions, what they do have in common is really that they are produced, they are co-created together with people. We allow the artists to work together with people because we do believe in people. So, well, I want to welcome my panel here, Peter, Jesper, and Petra. And we're going to talk a little bit now here. So, Peter, you have a very long history with ShareMusic.
Yes.
You have actually been part of ShareMusic since we started. Can you tell us something about your way into the music?
As every child in Sweden, I began at music school in the school, and I began to play the recorder as everyone else. But after 2 songs, probably, after I learned 2 songs, I couldn't manage to play the recorder anymore because of my hands. It became too difficult. So I had to lay my dream to play an instrument on hold for 27 years. Yes. And then ShareMusic called up and said, do you want to be a part of a music course? And I thought they were joking at me, not to me, because I hadn't played anything, just the record play button on a record, record player. Yeah, record player. But I'm a curious man, so I attended the course. And there, during that week, I found a way to express my music. I found the sound beam. Have you heard about it? Yeah. It's instruments that are like an infrared beam that you can play on different tunes. And because it was more, I wasn't forced to use my fingers. I can use my hand. I could play on it. So it was a revelation for me. And you were there. After 3 days, I played blues with the tutors. And I could express the musicality that I have felt all my life, but couldn't. Before that, I couldn't express it. But now I have found it. Yeah.
Yeah, I still remember that moment. The first very evening he was playing, that was super great, really. So today you're playing the band Parasonic. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, we are an electro duo. It's me and Paul Bottén. And we are making music together. We come up with different musical ideas, and we put them together and play together.
And what do you play on?
We are playing on the sound beam, actually, and also apps. So your apps and your app and thumb beam, thumb jam I use. And he's using Ableton then.
Good. So technology was really a way for you to find your way into music.
Yeah, it was. It was, yes, the only way, I should think.
Jesper, I mean, you told us about Gestureman, which is really one of the technology things which ShareMusic is using. We have been talking a lot about the possibilities for Gestureman. What is the valuable of actually creating something which is so accessible?
I think that there are several different aspects that are all valid and all valuable. One is, of course, the personal value, the story that you tell, to be able to express and to be able to tap into more people's musicality and find more music. That is, of course, a very valuable goal in itself. But I think also that lowering the threshold, if you do it, as I talked about before, if you do it in a way where you also open doors to see that things can grow from it, that it's not just lowering a threshold, but you also stay put on the floor, that you can still grow, you can do more things with it. I think that's really, really important, at least from my perspective. And also I see that the technology revolution that we are in, it's actually one of the themes of this piece that I talked about that I'm writing now for Esa-Pekka Salonen and Martin Fröst, emerging from currents and waves, also thinking about great changes in society. And when you're very close to those changes, you don't really know what they mean. When you were close to the beginning of Facebook, no one understood that it could become as big as it is now. When you're close to something, you don't really know what it is. But the thing with art is, from all perspectives, from amateur art to big orchestras, is that you can ask a question and paint a vision at the same time. And I really like that with art. It's really something that has many, many layers, and it doesn't have to be very clear, but it opens up so many new doors. And we are on the brink of an even larger revolution with the potential artificial intelligence that might change everything in a second. Probably as large a leap as when life started in the oceans, or something similar at least. So we are close to something, but we have no idea where it's going. So that's the fun and the scary thing with technology also. You have no idea what will happen with it.
But maybe technology is so powerful also because it allows more people to do things. So, I mean, what does inclusion mean for you in that sense?
For me, it's actually, in one way, I could feel a parallel to your story, but from a different perspective, because in the classical world, most people start playing an instrument very young. I didn't. I started playing punk rock, and I was never a good musician because I didn't practice, but I wrote songs. So for me, it's exactly the same thing. I couldn't have become a composer without technology. So that's also a part of that, but from a completely different perspective. But there can be so many different things. There can be so many different ways for this. So I think it comes down to who you are talking to and that person's story.
Probably. Petra, you are president here at the school. For me, it's really great being back here because I'm a former student. It didn't look like this, brand new building then. And we were talking the other day also about the difference between what is this Royal Academy today and what was it in former days. And you are really passionate and have been during all your years here about widening the recruitment, so we actually could have more students with different backgrounds. Can you say something about the work you've been doing here?
Yeah, so I'm the president of the union, not the entire school, but I became involved when I myself got here, and I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me, and I started to feel I don't belong here, I shouldn't be here, I don't deserve to be here. And it was tough, and I talked to a few friends, and we realized that this was not right. We need to start talking about this, and the discussion was already on the table, so to say. So what we do is, it's a political work, kind of. So we have a tight work. We work very closely with the school leaders, so to say. We work hard, but it's not just a problem here, it's a bigger problem that everybody has to, this is a great beginning to actually talk about it. Well, it's a good way to get it on the table, talk about it over lunch. We do it all the time. We have a project here within the union where we do this controversial thing as building bridges over genres. We do a large project where we work over the genres. It's not very usual that you see a jazz pianist play with a classical drummer, sometimes. So when we do that, we see the exchange of respect and compassion and just knowledge. So that's one way we work with, and with the board and everything. It's just, I think it started when I got here, and then it just kept rolling because we were a few people who felt like we need to see a change. And we're getting there, we're getting there. We're talking about the widening of the recruitment, accessibility, talking about abilities and not just like a disability, but talking about what do we actually have, what can we contribute with, and that's important to us. So.
Because access to music is really the kind of theme here, I think, and Peter and I often talking about that. Well, we were actually born the same year, and we've had a very different way to the music. While I was able to actually be a student here, Peter's not be able to go that kind of classical training. So, do you talk about this kind of different pathways? I mean, you now are a new teacher, you're going to start a new job. What do you have in mind when you think about that? That you will meet children, maybe disabled children, and thinking, what could you actually contribute? And what do you think a school like this should think about, so we could see a more diverse setting in the future here among these students?
That's a very big question, but I think myself, what I can contribute with, I think of just being open, and we have the teacher program here. We have a course that we just talk about different abilities in kids and young adults, how we can use them in the classroom to make music, to be creative, to meet each other, have respect for one another. So I think the generation of teacher that comes out now might be better at it, but we still need change. The music schools need to have special teachers that can educate children, that have the right skills to actually also include these children to be a part of the music. I think that we need to be on the same stage. We need to be on the same classroom to also be more inclusive, not just have it separately. But I think the next generation of teachers is going to be more open-minded about it. I'm hopeful for it. I don't know.
Yeah, good. And perhaps we also need more role models, and I think that's, I mean, ShareMusic is using really the performing arts as a way to showing what is possible through our productions. And we have found some kind of key elements we have identified during the years which we think are essential, like co-creation, like people, like using innovation and a very innovative thinking. Because you have to change your mindset upon what do you think diversity really can be. So, I mean, if we should talk really about the artistic process, because, I mean, the art itself and the music itself would change if we actually change our mindset. So, Peter, you have lots of experience of co-creation, and can you share some of your experience?
Yeah, ShareMusic was the first time I co-created something with other people. I was before I was only divided into disabled and non-disabled, and it wasn't so here. So it was so happy to be just a human being, not a disabled human being. And in the process, the leaders or the tutors, to the same expectation of me like everyone else. That's also a big, great feeling for me, not being tapped on the head and so on, like many other places. And it's very, very good.
Yeah. And when, for example, when you were part of Mångväxter, when we were creating this piece together with Petra Assio, can you say something about how you actually could influence the process of creating a new music work?
Yeah. Every member in the group should think about how to create a new instrument, so to say. And I was, my idea was to play a tune and paint a painting. So we did that with the sensors and so on. We learned much more music technology in depth. So we, yeah, the sensors and so on. And it was so it was so breathtaking for me to be able to create something new that I have found out.
Yeah, what do you want to do? Yes, we look.
I want to say that I'm so impressed with what I've seen about ShareMusic and the work you've done for several aspects. One is probably very personal because I come from the contemporary music world. That's where I work, and it feels so great from that very small, very narrow and tiny part of the music world to see that you are using those the ideas and the research ideas that the contemporary music has as a tool in this. Because otherwise contemporary music is always, or most of the time, seen as very elitist, which is in many ways it is. But as I said with my own technology, I don't think that it has to be either way. It can be both. Petra Assio is a fantastic composer, a professor now in where is
Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford. So, and she's been around, and we studied together at IRCAM, or she just after me. I know her for many years, and she's a very, very high level, internationally renowned composer who comes and does this together. So it's so, for me, it's so fantastic to see this, and I think that you're onto something that is very important. It's the same with technology. When I talk about contemporary music, people say, okay, that's strange music that I don't really know so much about. Yeah, but every piece of technology in music that you've ever used comes from this research. All sequencer, synthesizer, all these ideas started in the 40s and 50s in experimental studios by Boulez, Stockhausen, and so on at IRCAM in Paris. Every technology comes from this research. And then it becomes a mass tool. But that drive to find something new is really the perfect match for what you are trying to do. So that's always makes me so happy. And that's why I think that this collaboration is so valuable for me and for us.
Yeah, so what are you hoping for the future for collaboration?
Something that I have no idea of. And again, to find something that you didn't know that you liked, and to find something that you use, some kind of expression that you didn't know existed, hopefully. A driving force, the future of music, to always aim for the future of music. I think that's really important, and especially when you do things like this, and who can help better with the future of music than people who hasn't been able to do music before. That's really someone who can break new ground.
Yeah, and I mean, music is so diverse and so global, just like people are. So why are we denying people access to music, really? And how can we stop doing it? So technology is really important. It can really take down the barriers in many ways. But if we go back to the kind of artistic process and co-creation, if you should say as a composer, what do you think about sort of allowing other people to participate more than just being the composer controlling everything?
I haven't tried that a lot. But of course, it's when I start using my technology now to have soloists playing on it, I allow for more and more freedom. I think that it's definitely a road, but it's difficult. It's really tricky to have to do something that you have control of, but still letting go of the control. So I think that the main thing there is the co-creation, then, to be able to do things together and to see, okay, this is your input, this is my input, how can we merge it? But since I am working solidly in the world with ensembles and orchestras and conductors, it's a very clear hierarchy of how to do things. So. But that's why I also welcome the possibility of doing different things.
Yeah. Petra, how much technology have you get access to during your training here?
Well, a lot. This is a very modern school, but I would also like to add that people is also a way to, communication is also a way to reach this place we want to get to. So communication and just building bridges also between people, institutions. We have to work over the barriers just to see what we can offer. I think for me, when I talk diversity too, I think very much of people from different socio-cultural backgrounds and ethnicity and stuff like that. There's a lot to learn from each other. And there is, we're humans, as you said, we're all humans in the beginning before we become anything else. And then the rest is pretty much labels. So I think that if we talk to one another, the communication is also another key to reach what we want.
Communication is important, definitely. What do you say, Peter, after being on stage? Because one of my strongest really things about ShareMusic is that still, when you are in a very varied group of people, sometimes we have people who are not even able to speak. You're still able to actually do things and perform together. For me, that's still the fascinating way of working together. What do you think, Peter? What do you keep remembering or bringing with you from the productions you have been in that sense of being together with other people on stage?
I remember when we did Dawning Galamanta. They wonder how many we were in a group. We said we were 11, but she said, I saw only 4. She saw only the wheelchairs. But we are together. That's very interesting thought. But it's better.
You mean it's better that people see everyone? Yeah. So innovation is one thing, technology is really one thing to perhaps push this forward and to forward towards inclusion and diversity. So what would you like to say to the audience here? I mean, Petra, from your point of view, from being in a school here now, going out, what would you recommend the school to continue working?
An earlier speaker here today, Fadis, told that we need more fiery souls out there. We need more role models. And everybody can be a role model, I think. So for teachers and for anyone, pretty much, just stand up for diversity, talk about it, make room for it, talk about to politicians, make it an important thing to talk about, because it is an important thing to talk about. So that's what I would just send everybody home with, is never stop talking about it, because there's no such thing as too much diversity.
I think. And can you say something about what should people do? What do you think, for example, the school should do?
There are a lot of speakers you could invite. I know that here at the Royal College of Music, we do different projects out in the suburbs of Stockholm with different organizations. This is more like sociocultural differences. But we invited so many kids here, I think 158 9-year-olds, here to actually listen to music and realize that you can also go to a school like this. That is something you can do. Invite them to your home, so to say. This is our home. And make them, they have to make it's on their rules, pretty much, just like they told us earlier. It's on their rules, and you have to make sure that they're home here. So that's what I would say. Do what you can and try to inspire, try to talk about it as much as you can. And I believe very much in the human connection. The technology part of it is, of course, very important. But I believe in just like inviting, being able to feel like you belong there. And it can be hard, but if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Good. Jesper, what would you like to say to the audience? To take with
to try and to help others to try and to try together with your kids and with for inclusion is a mindset, something that you don't have to have technology for it. You saw it in the video you showed now with the piano playing on the inside of the piano, making all these fantastic sounds. You can do so many things with acoustic instruments, and with as long as you have a mindset of opening up your ears to listening to new things. I think that's probably the most important thing. And then you can add different type of tools and things to help for some people, but it's just a mindset.
Okay. Peter?
I wish in the future that one could apply in here to this school with an app as your instrument, so to speak. It would be marvelous. Because de som är i min situation idag, them that are in my situation today, that I was before, when I was, imagine if I had an app when I was 8 years old. What had happened? I don't know, but I know that I maybe had been here in school.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you heard what you need to do. So, yeah, music is amazing. It's a powerful tool. I think we all agree about that. And there are so many ways of doing it. And it's a mindset, as Jesper said. And I think we really need to change our mindset. So, yeah, I think we should stop there. Thank you to the panel for contributing, and also thank you to the Polar Prize for the possibility for ShareMusic to be part of this today and for meeting all. So thank you.